Active shooters. So let's talk really quickly about what you should do if you ever find yourself unlucky enough to be in one of these horrendous situations. First and foremost, no matter where you're at, and if this is like a place of your employment that you're concerned about, or if you don't have a workplace active shooter response procedure, then you guys definitely need to get one, because the biggest issues I'm seeing are directly correlated to the number of casualties that people suffer from and endure. So the first thing that you should always be doing whenever somebody's trying to hurt you, whether it's an active shooter, a stabbing, bludgeoning, kidnapping, rape, whatever it is, get away from them. Distance will always be your ally. There's not a single case where distance does not help the potential victim escape victimhood. Plain and simple. So when a consultant like myself comes through your organization and walks through the facility and says, okay, here are a couple of really great rally locations, you should say, awesome, thanks, Joe. We really appreciate you taking into consideration the safety and well-being of our people. Not argue as to why it's too far for your people to go because you're either too lazy or too fat or too physically incapable of doing it. Don't argue with the fact that distance will always be your best ally in keeping you safe against violence. So always get great distance. Now, next, where do you run to? 4 pre-designated rally locations: north, south, east, and west. Why? Because the situation's fluid, and you may have to go north, south, east, or west, depending upon where the person is or where they go, or where you're at or what you're doing, and where you can get to. So you want 4 pre-designated rally locations, north, south, east, and west from your facility, at a hardened geographic structure, something people can't mess up, like a big-ass statue or a very paved roadway, like the only paved road in the area, or a big oil well or a cell phone tower, something that an act of God or major earth disturbance would only be capable of removing. Not like the blue van that's always sitting on the corner. Have those pre-designated rally locations. Know how you're going to get to them, so have clear, unobstructed ways to get to them for your employees. If you have like an outdoor environment and there's a bunch of bad micro-terrain and rocks and ditches, put down a dirt road. Have some earth mover come in there and move that shit. Then have a means of accountability. So whether that is, hey, each section leader is in charge of 3 to 7 people, and so that's the perfect span of control. You 3 to 7 people report to that section leader reports to the manager to supervisor to director. Or if it's a fancy app where you have people scan a QR code whenever they make it out to a spot, scan a QR code with the option to say, hey, are you with anybody else right now? Put their name in there as well. Doesn't matter how we gain accountability. There's good ways and bad ways to do it, but we need to have a means of gaining accountability. And the way that you know if it works or not is by testing it. It's plain and simple. Just test it. And if it's a shit show when you're just standing there testing it, it's going to be 100 times worse whenever the situation really calls for it. So 4 pre-designated rally locations. Have a clear, unobstructed way for your people to get there. Have about 100 to 200, maybe even 300 yards from the site, so not that far. And have a means of gaining accountability once those people are actually there, and then test that means of accountability. Now, what if you can't run and you need to hide or lock yourself down in place? Absolutely. Understand the difference between cover and concealment. Cover stops bullets. Concealment just hides your position. It doesn't stop bullets. Think of like drywall. You don't know if somebody's on the other side of the wall, but you shoot through it. Well, they're going to get hit, or they're going to get hit possibly, because drywall doesn't stop bullets. So concealment, you can still shoot through it. Cover, you cannot shoot through. So it's best to have both, cover and concealment. And if people think cinder blocks are this like infallible bullet-resistant, bulletproof material, you're wrong. They can easily get broken down after just a couple of shots. So keep all this stuff in mind when it comes to hiding. The other thing to keep in mind if you need to hide, maybe you can't get somewhere you're wounded, or maybe you're just older, or maybe you got crutches, wheelchair bound, hide to fight. And so you're hiding with the intention to delay the person's entry into your room and your ability to fight back if they make entry. Immediately once they make entry into that room, you should be fighting them. Do not be at the back corner of a room. You should be literally right up on that door so that the moment they try to come in, bam, you grab the barrel, you get behind the gun, and you start stabbing, you start punching, start gouging, whatever it is that you can do to survive, you do. Which brings us to the last point, fight. It's really actually not that hard to fight somebody when they're armed with a gun in this type of a situation, because all you got to do is gain control of that gun or get yourself behind it. And there's a couple really simple ways to do this. I talk about this in Lethality University. I talk about this in seminars that I perform, and I talk about this in the training that I give anytime I'm developing one of these types of plans and programs for clients. So if you're going to hide to fight. And when you fight, you need to fight dirty, and you need to fight hard and fast and very violent. Right at the point of entry, that fatal funnel, get the shooter where they're most vulnerable. Accountability procedures now. So like post-incident, let's say. The 4 pre-designated rally locations are located no more than 300 yards, of course, depending upon geography and terrain, from the actual workplace, the site, the location of the incident. Why? Various reasons. Very difficult to shoot somebody at that distance, and again, depending upon like the microterrain and the features of the area, whether it's urban or rural, the point is that you can't get shot by the person, even if they were staring out a window trying to shoot you at 300 meters at the rally locations. They don't have access to you. So that's one reason why we have that as a rally location. It's a place for you to immediately get out to. If you want to have some sort of centralized rally location because you're concerned about news reporters, you're prioritizing the fear of public affairs information over the safety and well-being of your staff and your people. You're also prioritizing a lockdown as opposed to an evacuation, because there's a centralized rally location inside of the facility. Well, people are just going to say, well, I'm not going to go that far then. Subconsciously, I'm just going to go ahead and lock down here, which is where the vast majority of people get hurt or killed. So why would you want a centralized rally location in the middle of the work site, the middle of the work facility, if that's not prioritizing people's safety? Because that's really the goal here, is to prioritize safety of your people. On top of that, you're keeping everyone in the crime scene, so responding law enforcement is going to be twice as confused. You're keeping everybody there so that they're more likely to see their killed or murdered coworker. What if that's the spot, the rally location where the person was murdered? Oh, well, we'll just send them over this way and then we'll send them over that way. No, you won't. It's going to be so much chaos. Well, we're going to start controlling access and entry. No, you're not. Law enforcement is in charge. Well, law enforcement says people can't leave the property until they say, that's not true. You can get the fuck out of there. They want you out of there. They don't want anybody on site except for the shooter. That's it. It's all about simplicity, ladies and gentlemen. Simplicity. And not having to have multiple contingencies for these what-if scenarios. All of that is eradicated when you have 4 pre-designated rally locations about 300 meters or less outside of the facility grounds. Guess who's all vacating? Not the shooter. And if the shooter does decide to vacate and law enforcement's there, well, guess who he's running right towards? Law enforcement with a gun in his hand. Guess what we tell your people to do whenever they're exiting a facility and law enforcement is in response? Show your hands. Move past them. Cops are trained to know this stuff. Your people should be trained to know this stuff. To have a centralized rally location for accountability post-incident in the middle of the fucking crime scene it's just so stupid. I don't even know what else to say about it. That's how dumb it is. It's just that it's like one of the dumbest things that you could possibly say. And then you say, oh, well, we're worried about newspapers taking pictures of our employees. What? That's so far irrelevant at this point that's like saying, I like turtles in the middle of it. What? So let me just be very clear about this. When you have a highly qualified professional come into your place and teach you how to do something, regardless of what it is, finance or business or fitness or nutrition or mental health or active shooter, whatever it is, when you hire a professional who is insanely highly qualified and credentialed and experienced to come into your place and to do some work for you, teach you something, guide and consult and train your people, the last thing that you should be doing is opening up your mouth against that person's experience and expertise. And this is why. Because you say dumb stuff like, oh, well, let's have a rally location in the middle of the crime scene because that we're worried about newspapers taking pictures of our employees. As opposed to, hey, we really agree that getting distance from the shooter is one of the best things that somebody could ever do, that having them off-site so law enforcement can adequately search the facility, deal with all the people, deal with any sort of threat, that's a really good idea too. And that we can gain accountability from a safe place quickly and effectively, and we don't have to wait for the incident to be over amidst all the confusion and chaos. Wow, that's a really good idea. Good luck to you. I pray to God that nobody ever has to deal with this. I really, truly, truly do. But if you do, you are going to be screwed. And that's why we continue to see these incidents. I don't know if it's your egos. I don't know if it's your arrogance, laziness. But we are going to continue to see these types of incidents unfold, unfortunately, because people, like said client, are so whatever that they just want to hear themselves talk. And I don't know if it's bad business in me, but I can't do that. I cannot sit there and let a client just do something like this in these types of situations when there's people's lives on the line and just be ignorant and just, this is crazy. Like, this is insanity to me that you would have the audacity to risk the well-being of your people over a news station taking photographs. When, by the way, the reality of it is that road's going to be locked down. We can't rely on law enforcement to lock that road down. Yeah, you have to. You have no other option. You have no other choice. They're the only one coming to help you. Again, why are we even talking about news people when you still have a facility full of people in an active threat running around killing motherfuckers? Why are we talking about news station? Stupefying. And I'm done dealing with these types of bullshit clients. Because there's people out there who need help, who want to learn, who want to grow. And here I am wasting time and energy talking about these people after dealing with them time and time again. If you want to know how to keep your people safe in a workplace violent situation, reach out to a real professional, somebody who could explain everything that they do, everything that they think of, everything that they say is calculated and formulated based off of real experience, education, case studies, knowledge, things that they themselves have gone and explored in this world. Not somebody who's given a position in a security role and then does a couple hours of Google searching on active shooter incidents. That's stupid. And people will die if you ever suffer from an internal or an external active shooter incident, people in your company are going to die, plain and simple, just straight up. They're going to die. It's going to be confusing. It's going to be chaotic. And there's probably going to be a lot of lives that could have been saved, and they won't be. And you will have yourself to thank for it if you're one of these people. Schools, man, you guys really need to get your act together. All right, everyone. I just can't understand why people think that they are so entitled to these types of opinions. I don't think that I'm entitled to anything that I don't know or understand. And when there's somebody better or smarter than me in the room about it, I shut the hell up and listen. Listen. Linda, listen, Linda. Man. God forbid. God forbid that they have to suffer from this. Then the two-edged sword to that is they're like, oh, see, we had this great plan, even though we never had to use it. And they think that they're actually doing something right, which means that they're going to just further propagate the BS out into the world after they leave that job and go to the next one. That's probably why we see so much of this garbage response plans and readiness programs to begin with. All right, everyone. Joe Malone, Lethal Lifestyle. Hit us up on Lethal U, the Lethality University, if you want to know how to keep yourself and your loved ones safe against violence, violent crime, break free from the chains of oppression that happen to enslave us as men and women, our own self-doubts, our limiting belief systems, and our fears. Take care, everybody.